She was the woman I trusted completely. She was the friend Jessica counted on. But one afternoon at a motel, everything changed, and none of our lives were ever the same again. Hey, this is Justin. I run a moving company. Started with one truck in my back 7 years ago. Now I've got a fleet of 5 and a crew of 8 guys who actually show up on time. It's not glamorous, but it's mine, you know? I built it from nothing. Wake up at 5, handle logistics, deal with broken down trucks and customers who swear they only have a few boxes when they've got a whole house packed into closets. It pays the bills, keeps me busy, gives me something solid. Sally came into my life about a year before everything went to hell. Met her at a coffee shop. She spilled her latte on my boots, those expensive Timberlands I just bought, and she was so embarrassed she bought me another coffee and wouldn't stop apologizing. She worked at a daycare, one of those church-affiliated places with finger paintings covering every wall. Good with kids, patient in that way I could never be. Steady, reliable, always had this calm thing going on. We just clicked, I guess. Nothing dramatic, no fireworks, just comfortable. She'd come over after work, still smelling like crayons and hand sanitizer. Help me with paperwork while I made dinner. I'm not the romantic type, never have been, but it worked. She felt like someone I could count on. The relationship was easy. We had our routines. Thai food on Thursdays, her place on weekends, my place on weekdays because I had to be up early. She didn't complain when jobs ran late. I didn't complain when she talked about daycare drama. We fit together without much effort. She was stable, dependable, exactly what I needed. No games, no drama, just solid. Then her friend Jessica got engaged to this guy Tony. Jessica was one of those loud, bubbly types who filled up every room. Always organizing things, always hugging people. Tony seemed all right when I met him. Finance guy, talked about markets and portfolios, wore an expensive watch. Polished, put together, looked like he lived at the office. The engagement party was at some restaurant downtown with exposed brick and overpriced small plates. Sally was so happy that night, man. Genuinely glowing. She kept grabbing my arm, pointing out details about the proposal, how surprised Jessica was, how perfect everything was. I nursed a beer and made small talk while Sally lit up every time Jessica came over. They'd hug and squeal about wedding plans that hadn't even started yet. Sally grabbed my hand at one point and squeezed it, leaning into me while she laughed. She looked exactly where she wanted to be. I remember thinking I was lucky to have someone who could be that happy for other people. After that night, Sally threw herself into wedding planning completely. Every conversation circled back to venues or photographers or bands versus DJs. She was at Jessica's place 4 nights a week. Weekends or bridal appointments, venue tours, cake tastings, dress shopping. I barely saw her. She'd text me updates about bridesmaid drama or seating charts, and I'd reply with short responses because I was coordinating jobs or dealing with my crew. Part of me was relieved, honestly. Gave me more time for work. We'd gotten a big contract with a property management company, lots of turnover units, tight deadlines. I was stretched thin, working 60-hour weeks. Having Sally occupied meant I didn't feel guilty about not being around. She'd call during lunch breaks at the daycare, talking fast through her wedding task list. Call the florist, confirm the photographer, help Jessica pick between invitation designs that looked identical to me. Sometimes she mentioned working with Tony too, coordinating groomsmen stuff or running errands when Jessica was swamped. Made sense. Sally mentioned once that she and Tony knew each other from college, some friend group overlap. I didn't ask for details. Didn't care. Ancient history. The planning went on for months. Sally had spreadsheets, binders of vendor contracts, Pinterest boards. Jessica texted at all hours, 9 p.m., 11 p.m., early mornings with ideas or panic attacks about details. Sally always responded, always made time, always dropped everything to help. I thought it was admirable, being that good of a friend, putting in that effort for someone else's happiness. Sally had always been generous with her time, helped people even when inconvenient. When my truck broke down 2 hours away, she drove out to get me without complaint. When my mom had hip surgery, Sally brought magazines and sat with her so I could handle work. She was solid, dependable, did the right thing. So when she spent all this time helping Jessica, I figured it was just Sally being Sally. Being a good friend. I never questioned it. Why would I? Sally was happy. Jessica was happy. Planning was moving forward. My business was growing. I was busy. Sally had her thing. We'd catch up when we could, dinner once or twice a week. Wasn't perfect, but it worked. I figured after the wedding things would go back to normal. More time together, back to our routines, maybe talk about moving in together officially. I was thinking about the future, building something permanent. I trusted her completely. Never had a reason not to.
Hey there, I'm Sally. I need to explain something before you judge me too hard. Tony and I dated in college for about 2 years. We were young, stupid, thought we were soulmates or whatever people think at 21. We broke up senior year, not because of anything dramatic, just because we wanted different things. We cried, promised to stay friends, did that whole mature breakup thing. And we did stay friendly. Ran into each other occasionally, kept it light. No lingering feelings, or so I thought. That was 4 years ago. When Tony started dating Jessica, she actually asked me if it was weird. Jessica and I had gotten close through work. Her nephew went to my daycare, and when she mentioned she was seeing my ex, she was nervous about it. I told her it was ancient history. Completely fine, didn't matter. And I meant it. I was happy for her. Tony seemed different, more settled, and Jessica was head over heels. When they got engaged, I screamed so loud my neighbors probably called the cops. I volunteered to help with everything because I genuinely wanted her day to be perfect. This was my friend, my close friend, and she deserved the best. The planning process was intense. Jessica had opinions about everything but couldn't make decisions, so I became the mediator, calling vendors, comparing prices, keeping spreadsheets. Tony was involved too, because Jessica wanted it to be their wedding, not just hers. So the three of us would meet up, go over details, make choices together. At first it was fine. Professional, friendly, focused. But then there were these moments. Little things. Tony would make a joke referencing something from our college days, and we'd both laugh while Jessica looked confused. Our hands would brush reaching for the same wine list. He'd catch my eye across the table and hold it just a second too long. I told myself I was imagining it. I was with Justin. Tony was marrying Jessica. Everything was fine. But the tension kept building. Late-night texts about wedding stuff that didn't need to happen at 11 p.m. Him offering to pick me up for appointments when Jessica couldn't make it. Us staying late at the venue after everyone else left, supposedly finalizing details, but really just talking. About everything. About nothing. About us. Back then, what went wrong? What could have been different? The first kiss happened 3 weeks before the wedding. We were at his and Jessica's apartment. She was at a bachelorette spa day her mom organized, and we were addressing invitations. Just the two of us, music playing, wine flowing. He made some comment about how I always had the neatest handwriting, how he used to love my birthday cards. I looked up, and he was staring at me with this expression I remembered from college, that look that used to make me feel like I was the only person in the world. And then he leaned in and kissed me. I should have stopped it. I should have pulled away, told him this was insane, walked out. But I didn't. I kissed him back. The first time we slept together was a week before the wedding. Jessica was out of town for a final dress fitting with her bridesmaids. Tony texted, saying he needed help with groomsmen gifts. I knew what I was doing when I went over there. We both knew. We didn't even pretend to look at gifts. It just happened, and it felt exactly like it used to. Easy, comfortable, right? Afterward, we laid there, and he said maybe we'd made a mistake breaking up. I said maybe we had. We didn't talk about Jessica. We didn't talk about Justin. We just existed in this bubble where consequences didn't matter. After the wedding, it continued. We'd find excuses, meet at this motel on the highway where nobody we knew would see us. Sometimes twice a week, sometimes more. He'd tell Jessica he was working late or meeting clients. I'd tell Justin I was with Jessica or doing errands. The lies came so easily it scared me. I convinced myself this was unfinished business, that we needed to get it out of our systems. that eventually it would run its course and we could move on. I actually believed I could keep all three relationships intact, be Jessica's friend, be Justin's girlfriend, be Tony's secret. I'd meet Jessica for brunch and listen to her talk about married life, how happy she was, how Tony was so attentive. Then I'd meet Tony at that motel that same afternoon. The compartmentalization was insane looking back. I'd help Jessica pick out furniture for their living room, then text Tony about when we could see each other next. I'd curl up with Justin on his couch watching TV, feeling guilty for maybe 10 minutes, then pushing it away. I told myself everyone was happy. Jessica had her perfect marriage, Justin had his stable girlfriend, Tony and I had our secret thing, and nobody was getting hurt as long as nobody found out. Which is the dumbest logic in the world, but I believed it. I needed to believe it, because the alternative was admitting I was destroying everything and everyone around me for something that probably wasn't even real. Just nostalgia and chemistry and the thrill of sneaking around. But I didn't want to admit that. So I kept going, kept lying, kept pretending I could balance it all forever.
My buddy Derek called me on a Tuesday afternoon. I was at the warehouse doing inventory, checking truck maintenance logs, normal day. He sounded weird on the phone, urgent. Said he was driving past the Starlight Motel on Route 9, and he just saw Sally. I said, okay, so what? He went quiet for a second, then said she was with some guy, and they just went into a room together. I froze, asked him if he was sure. He said, yeah, positive, recognized her car in the lot, and saw them walk in. Room 12. He said he wasn't sure if he should call, but figured I'd want to know. I asked him to wait there, hung up, and got in my truck. Drove straight there. Route 9 was busy with afternoon traffic, sun glaring off windshields, and I was gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles went white. The whole drive I kept telling myself there had to be an explanation. Maybe it was a work thing, maybe she was helping someone, maybe Derek was mistaken. But I knew. Somewhere in my gut, I already knew. When I pulled into that crack parking lot, there it was. Her blue Honda Civic with the daycare bumper sticker parked right in front of room 12. Derek was waiting and pointed to a room. I told him I'd take care and thanked him. I sat in my truck staring at that door. Curtains drawn, no movement, nothing. I should have left. Should have turned around and driven away, pretended I never got the call. But I couldn't move. Couldn't think past the image of Sally walking into that room with someone. So I waited. 15 minutes, 20, half an hour. My phone buzzed with work texts I ignored. Watch people come and go from other rooms. Watch cars pull in and out. The whole time that blue Civic just sat there, and I sat there watching it. Then the door to room 12 opened. Sally walked out first, and my stomach dropped. She was adjusting her shirt, running her hand through her hair. And then Tony stepped out behind her. Tony, Jessica's husband, her friend's husband, the guy from the engagement party, the wedding planning, all of it. I watched them for a second before they noticed me. Watched Tony say something to Sally. Watched her laugh and touch his arm. Casual, comfortable, like they'd done this 100 times. Then Sally looked toward the parking lot and saw my truck. Saw me. Her face went completely white. I got out slow, started walking toward them. Sally immediately panicked, reaching for me, saying my name over and over. Justin, Justin, please wait, Justin. Tony held up his hands like I was going to hit him, started stammering. This isn't what it looks like, man. Please just let me explain. Which was the dumbest thing he could have said because it was exactly what it looked like. Both of them standing outside a motel room in the middle of the afternoon, clothes wrinkled, guilt written all over their faces. Sally grabbed my arm, begging me to listen. Her eyes were wild, desperate, tears already starting. She kept saying it was a mistake. She didn't mean for this to happen. It was over now. She'd never see him again. Just please, please don't do anything. Tony was sweating through his button-down, stammering about how it meant nothing, how they never wanted to hurt anyone, how it just spiraled out of control. He actually said that. Spiraled out of control. Like they were victims of circumstance instead of two people who made a choice. I asked how long. Sally hesitated, and that hesitation was an answer. Tony jumped in saying it didn't matter. It was stopping right now. They'd never speak again. But I asked again, how long? Sally was crying harder now, mascara running down her face. A few weeks, she finally said. Started before the wedding. before the wedding. I felt like I'd been punched. While she was planning it, while she was standing up there as maid of honor, while she was at our apartment telling me about centerpieces and seating charts. The whole time, Tony kept talking, words tumbling out desperate and fast, begging me not to ruin everyone's lives, saying Jessica didn't need to know, it would destroy her for no reason. He actually said that. For no reason. Like his wife didn't deserve to know her husband was screwing her best friend. Sally was nodding along, saying the same thing. We can all move on, pretend this never happened. Nobody else has to get hurt. Both of them standing there, united in wanting to protect their lies. I didn't yell, didn't swing at Tony, even though I wanted to. Just stood there looking at them, at these two people begging me to keep their secret so they could go back to their comfortable lives. Sally reached for me again, and I stepped back, told them they were pathetic. Both of them. Then I turned around and walked back to my truck. Sally ran after me, pounding on the window, still crying, still begging. Tony just stood there in the parking lot looking sick. I started the engine and reversed out. Sally was screaming my name, but I didn't look at her. Drove straight to Jessica's house. If they wanted to blow up their lives, fine. But Jessica deserved to know who she married, who her best friend really was.
May called me screaming. Actually screaming. Not crying screaming, just pure rage screaming. I couldn't understand what she was saying at first, just incoherent fury pouring through the phone. When I finally made out words, they were Justin, Tony, motel you. She knew everything. Justin had told her everything. Jessica kept screaming until her voice gave out, then she just cried. Asked me why. How long, how could I? Asked me if I'd ever actually been her friend, or if I'd always wanted Tony back. I tried to explain, but there was nothing to explain. No explanation makes sense when you've been sleeping with your best friend's husband. She told me to never contact her again, that I was dead to her, that she hoped I was happy because I destroyed everything. Then she hung up and blocked me. Tony was scared and didn't know what he should do. Justin wouldn't answer my calls. I went to his place that night, and my key didn't work. He'd changed the locks already. I knocked for 20 minutes. Saw his truck parked outside. Saw lights on inside, knew he was home. He never came to the door. I finally left when his neighbor threatened to call the cops. Found my stuff in trash bags on the doorstep the next morning. Clothes, toiletries, the framed photo of us from his nightstand, all thrown together like garbage. Because that's what I was to him now. Garbage. The friend group imploded immediately. Jessica told everyone what happened, and everyone chose her side. Obviously, she was the victim. Tony and I were the villains. Group chats went silent when I opened them. Invitations stopped. People I'd known for years suddenly didn't know me anymore. I ran into Sarah at the grocery store. Sarah, who'd been at Jessica's wedding, who I'd helped plan a baby shower for, and she literally turned her cart around and walked away rather than speak to me. The daycare parents heard somehow, whispered version of a story making rounds. My boss pulled me aside asking if everything was okay because parents were requesting their kids be moved to different classrooms. Jessica filed for divorce within 2 weeks. Didn't even try to work it out, just done. I heard through mutual friends she'd moved back in with her parents, that she'd lost weight, that she wasn't sleeping, that she quit her job because she couldn't handle people asking questions. And it was my fault. Mine and Tony's. We'd done that to her. Destroyed someone who'd trusted us completely. Tony called me about a month after everything exploded. Said we should talk, figure out what we were doing. I met him at a coffee shop because I had nowhere else to go, no one else to talk to. He looked terrible. Said Jessica's lawyer was going after everything, that the separation was brutal, that his family wasn't speaking to him. That work was awkward because people had heard. We sat there in this awful silence, two people who'd blown up their lives for each other, and realized we had nothing to say. But we tried anyway. Started seeing each other officially, because what else were we going to do? We destroyed everything for this. Might as well see if it was worth it. Spoiler, it wasn't. All those problems from college that made us break up the first time came roaring back. He was controlling about stupid things. Where I went, who I talked to. I was resentful about everything. blamed him for not standing up to Justin, for not protecting me from the fallout. We fought constantly. About money, about whose fault everything was, about whether we should try to reach out to Jessica and apologize. He said it would make things worse. I said things couldn't get worse. The sex wasn't even good anymore. That spark we'd had, that chemistry that made us risk everything, it was just gone. Replaced by guilt and resentment and the knowledge that we'd hurt people for nothing. We'd have these awful circular arguments where he'd say I was the one who kissed him back, and I'd say he was the one who initiated everything. Keeping score of who was more guilty, like it mattered. We were both guilty. We both made choices. We both destroyed lives. 6 months in, we had a fight about something stupid. He'd forgotten to pick up groceries, or I'd been late getting home. I don't even remember. But it escalated into the screaming match where all the real issues came pouring out. He said being with me reminded him of everything he'd lost. I said being with him made me hate myself. He said maybe we should have just left things alone, stayed broken up from college. I said obviously. We stood there in his apartment. He'd had to move because Jessica got the house in the separation and realized we had nothing. No future, no foundation, nothing but wreckage. We broke up that night. No drama, no begging, just mutual acknowledgement that this had been a catastrophic mistake. He said he was moving to another city, starting over somewhere nobody knew him. I said that sounded good. We didn't hug goodbye, didn't promise to stay in touch, just walked away from each other for the second and final time. Now I'm alone, really alone. No Justin, no Tony, no Jessica, no friend group, no social life. I had to switch daycares because the whispers got too loud. Moved to a new apartment because I couldn't afford the old one on my own. My parents barely speak to me because they love Justin, thought he was the stable guy I'd finally found. I see Jessica's social media sometimes through other people's posts. She looks happy now, moved on, rebuilt her life. I'm glad for her. I genuinely am. She deserved better than what we did to her. And Tony, no idea where he ended up. Don't care. The affair didn't give me love or passion or anything worth having. Just wreckage. Just this hollow empty space where my life used to be. I traded everything for nothing.